The tennis world had been waiting for this moment. Eala, the 21-year-old Filipina who had just demolished Donna Vekic and received a surprise walkover, was about to face the biggest test of her grass court season. Elena Rybakina, the world number 2, the 2022 Wimbledon champion, the woman whose power game had dismantled Eala in Rome just weeks ago. The Kazakh was supposed to win. She was supposed to dominate. She was supposed to remind the young Filipina that she wasn't ready for the elite. But what unfolded on center court at the Rotweiss Tennis Club was not a coronation. It was a revelation. And when the final point landed, the tennis world was left absolutely speechless. What did Eala do to the Wimbledon champion that no one saw coming? And how did she prove that she belongs among the best in the world? Berlin, Germany, June 17, 2026. Rotweiss Tennis Club, center court. The stage was set for the biggest match of Eala's grass court season. 25,000 fans packed the historic Steffi Graf Stadium. Philippine flags waved alongside German colors. The chants of Laban echoed across the pristine grass. And at the center of it all stood a 21-year-old from Quezon City ready to face the most daunting challenge of her young career. Elena Rybakina, the world number 2, the 2022 Wimbledon champion, a player whose power game is tailor-made for grass, flat, aggressive ground strokes, and a serve that has been clocked at 127 miles per hour. She had already proven herself on this surface, winning the most prestigious tournament in tennis just 4 years ago. The two had met just weeks earlier at the Italian Open in Rome. The scoreline 6-4, 6-3 had been competitive, but Rybakina had controlled the key moments. Eala had fought, had pushed, but had ultimately come up short. The odds were stacked against the Filipina. Rybakina had received a first-round bye, meaning she was rested and ready. Eala, by contrast, had advanced via walkover after Donna Vekic withdrew from their first-round clash. She had not played a competitive match since her Birmingham Open triumph a week earlier. Some questioned whether she would be sharp enough. But Eala had arrived in Berlin with a purpose. Her Birmingham title, a gritty 5-7, 6-3, 7-5 victory over Nikola Bartunkova that broke a 13-match losing streak against Czech players, had announced her arrival on grass. A deep run in Berlin could lock in her Wimbledon seeding. Standing in her way was the woman who had beaten her just weeks ago. The crowd expected a battle. The media expected a statement. The tennis world expected Rybakina to remind the young Filipina that she wasn't ready for the elite. But from the very first point, it became clear that this match would be different. Berlin, Germany, June 17, 2026, Rotweiss Tennis Club, center court. The first serve was a warning shot. Eala's lefty delivery screamed down the tee, painting the line before Elena Rybakina could even react. The radar gun flashed, 113 miles per hour. The Wimbledon champion, who had faced some of the biggest serves in the game, could only watch. The message was unmistakable. This was not the same player she had beaten in Rome. From the very first game, Eala dictated play. Her lefty angles, the weapon that had frustrated opponents throughout her grass court campaign, neutralized Rybakina's power. The Kazakh's ferocious ground strokes, which had overwhelmed opponents at Wimbledon, were consistently redirected, pushed wide, forced into errors, rendered harmless. Rybakina looked uncomfortable. Her movement, usually so fluid on grass, seemed hesitant. Her timing was off. The woman who had won Wimbledon with a relentless aggression was being forced into defensive positions she rarely occupied. The Philippine flags in the stands waved furiously. The chants of Laban echoed across the historic Steffi Graf Stadium, and Eala, the 21-year-old who had arrived in Berlin as a wildcard entry, looked absolutely unstoppable. The first game was a hold to love. The second was a break. Eala broke Rybakina's serve in the very first game of the match, a stunning development that sent shockwaves through the stadium. The Wimbledon champion had been broken by a player ranked outside the top 30, on grass. Rybakina tried to adjust. She varied her pace. She attacked the net. She attempted to disrupt Eala's rhythm. Nothing worked. The Filipina was locked in. Her focus absolute. Her execution flawless. She held serve with authority, then broke again. The first set was over in just 34 minutes, 6-2. The stadium was in disbelief. Rybakina had never lost a set by that margin on grass to a player ranked outside the top 20. The world number 2, the 2022 Wimbledon champion, the woman who had been expected to dominate, was suddenly on the back foot. Eala walked to her chair, her expression unchanged. She had done what few players had ever done. She had taken the fight to Rybakina, and won the opening set in dominant fashion. The second set was about to begin and the tennis world was watching to see if she could do it again. Berlin, Germany, June 17, 2026, Rotweiss Tennis Club, center court. The second set began with a statement. Rybakina, the 2022 Wimbledon champion, had never been pushed like this on grass. She had won the tournament in 2022 without dropping a set in the final. She had defeated some of the best players in the world on this surface, but Alexia was different. Alexia was a puzzle she hadn't yet solved. The Kazakh stepped to the baseline determined to reset. Her serve was one of the best on tour, capable of hitting spots that few players could reach. She had used it to dominate opponents for years, but Eala's return game was relentless. The Filipina broke Rybakina again in the third game of the second set. The stadium erupted. Philippine flags waved furiously. The chants of Laban echoed across center court. Then came the serve that would be replayed for years. Trailing 15-30 in the first set, Eala had already unleashed a 113 mph serve, but this was different. This was bigger. The toss went up, high, perfect, and then the strike. The ball exploded off Eala's racket with a sound that seemed different from any serve she had ever hit. It screamed through the Berlin air, a white blur against the green grass. Rybakina, the world number 2, the player with reflexes sharp enough to return 127 mph serves, didn't even move. She watched. She blinked. The ball painted the inside corner of the service box and skidded away. Ace. The radar gun on the broadcast feed flickered. The number flashed on the screen, 119 mph. The stadium gasped. For context, Eala's average first serve speed hovered around 105 mph. She had never been known as a power server. Her game was built on lefty angles, tactical intelligence, and relentless defense, but this serve was different. This serve was something else entirely. The commentators scrambled for superlatives. Did you see that? 119 mph. That's not just fast for Alex Eala, that's fast for anyone. His co-commentator nodded, still processing. She's never hit that speed before, not in any recorded match. She just broke her personal record and maybe the tournament record against the Wimbledon champion. Eala walked to the other side of the baseline, her expression unchanged. She bounced the ball again. The crowd was still buzzing, but she seemed unaffected by the history she had just made. The next serve was 112 mph. Rybakina returned, but the point was Eala's. 30-30, the game continued. Eala held serve, escaping the danger and leveling the set, but the serve had already done its damage, not just on the scoreboard, but in the minds of everyone watching. Rybakina had faced some of the biggest serves in the game. She had returned serves from Sabalenka, from Serena, from players whose power was their identity, but she had never faced a serve like this from a player like Eala. The match was far from over, but the tennis world had just witnessed something unprecedented. Alex Eala, the 21-year-old from Quezon City, who had been told she wasn't fit to play Birmingham, had just unleashed the fastest serve of her career against one of the best returners in the world, on grass, under pressure. The record was broken. The message was sent, and the match was about to enter its most critical phase. Berlin, Germany, June 17, 2026. Rotweiss Tennis Club, post-match analysis. The numbers told a story that the scoreboard could not fully capture. Eala recorded 22 winners to Rybakina's 14. She committed only 11 unforced errors, while forcing the Wimbledon champion into 18. She won an astonishing 78% of her first serve points and faced just 2 break points,